Hey y'all, Natalie Shelton here with FloMarching. While we're still waiting for the start of the 2023 WGI season, it's officially that time of the year when drum corps starts coming out of hibernation. And between callback camps, staff announcements, and the start of the show announcement season, there's a lot to look forward to. And today I'm incredibly excited to talk to Daniel Scott, the current Brass Caption Head at the Spirit of Atlanta. And we're going to chat about recent changes the org has undergone, their upcoming 2023 season, and maybe if we're lucky, we may even get some insider information about their program this year. So first off, welcome, Daniel. How are you doing and how's everything at Spirit going so far?
Oh, Natalie, I am doing so great. And also, I just want to say thank you for even reaching out. The last time that I had an interview on Flow or a part of DCI was an impromptu one that they got me while I was walking past the tubas on the field. So I appreciate you even giving me a head's notice before I even jumped onto the call. But it's been going great. You know, it's interesting because I did a post just a couple of days ago that at this time 2 years ago, the entire community of DCI was online trying to make Zoom drum corps even a thing. And then last year was the year that we were figuring out that we weren't going to have a season last year. So I'm feeling really good that we got our first January camp in. And also it was our first 3-day camp in the 3 years.
Oh my gosh.
So we were all kind of walking in, you know, going, wait, oh, we have to have an air mattress. Oh God, I forgot my towel. I didn't even know that I needed to bring soap. My God. So it was an awesome experience, but a lot of learning curves were had by everyone, not just the students.
Amazing. Well, I can totally understand the pain that y'all have had to go through with remembering how to do drum corps again. And, you know, you're not that far behind when it comes to everybody else in the activity because we did have a couple of seasons off recently. And I feel like everyone is still trying to find where their sweet spot is. But before we jump into the talk about auditions and the season itself, why don't you give a little bit of a background of yourself and what you have done with Spirit and kind of your journey through drum corps up until this point, just so we get a little bit of background of who you are.
Oh yeah, for sure. This is my 8th year with Spirit of Atlanta. I have actually been caption head for about 4 years, but no one would know. Just because of the weird, crazy, wild, unorthodox experience that we've had. And so I've been on the staff since 2016, and this is the 8th season. Before that, I did teach DCA for 1 year, and so Drum Corps Associates, it's an awesome place and also really interesting to teach a 15-year-old next to a 55-year-old. Wild days there.
Yep.
But I had a great time when I taught Carolina Gold in 2015, and I marched and H'd out. I was a rookout in 2014 at Cavaliers. And so I've kind of been doing this thing for some time now. And it's been just a few straight summers. Because even last summer, I did the alumni corps for the few performances that we did. And so I've had a really cool and awesome experience with drum corps over the last, I guess, 9 or 10 years. That's kind of led me to this place. But, you know, I've worked with some really amazing people. And I'm excited to be with the Brass Caption specifically and working with just some of the best educators in the entire country. So I'm really fortunate and blessed to be where I am.
Yeah, so let's just jump right into it. Kind of going off what you just said, as the Brass Caption Head, you've got to be really excited about your team that you've assembled this season. You've got Freddie and Michael Martin, you've got Will Pitts, you've got a lot of big names within the drum corps activity. What has it been like for you to put together this team and to see them working all together in the same room? You know, you've got a whole lot of experience right in front of you. What's that like?
Well, I mean, you know, Freddie is kind of known as the Yoda of brass pedagogy and the activity. And I think the thing about it is that all of us on the team are kind of there for Freddie specifically because he was the director or is the director emeritus of Spirit. And so with that being his core and that's his home place, everyone kind of combines around this idea that we're doing it for Freddie. I think the other thing that's really interesting, though, is that it's been a merger of staffs, but not really, because so many of our staff members have worked with each other in some capacity. I was taught by some of our staff members at Cavaliers before I then came to Spirit, and then they were still at Cavaliers, and now they're at Spirit. So it's been one of these experiences where we've been trying to kind of get to know each other and figure each other out. But every single time another brass person would log on to the call, it's like, oh, whoa, we marched together. It's been this wild experience. And so we, at the January camp, we've got 4 caption leads. And then with myself, it was just a really great experience to be with people who understand the system and know the system, to where we're just learning each other and where each other's gifts are. And it's the coolest thing to be able to sit back and watch master teachers at work. Truly, we have over 167 years of drum corps teaching experience on our staff.
Wow.
Wild to sit
like flex.
We tell the students that, and it's like, well, most of it's Freddie, but we have so many years of experience, not just at 2 corps or 1 corps, but at multiple different corps. So we're kind of getting the best of all worlds coming in to create this education program. And because of that, it's a really humbling experience. If you were asking me to put it in one word, which I'm not a one-word person, I'm just anyone that who knows me would say I'm not a one-word person. But if I could put it in one word, it would be humbling, just because to have so many master teachers, there's not one voice. And Freddie's entire mindset is that we're all smarter together than any one of us anyways. And I think that's the best thing about the drum corps community, is that we have so many pedagogues and master teachers that education is really something that's important to us. And so we're just creating and establishing that as a foundation at Spirit, as a staff.
Amazing. That is so great to hear that so many people are combining their not hundreds, well, almost hundreds of years worth of experience to really get Spirit in a great place after you've taken a couple seasons off between the COVID-19 pandemic and last season when y'all didn't feel the core.
Right.
So let's talk about auditions. And I know you've kind of already touched on this, but what has it been like having the staff members be in front of auditionees that are both returning to Spirit for the first time in a couple seasons, and also the new kids that are just trying out drum corps for the first time? What has it been like to have everybody in the room together again?
I mean, like I said, 2 years ago, we were doing this Zoom drum corps thing, and we all know, and we can just say it, I'm not going to offend anyone, it doesn't work. To do Zoom drum corps, I was in like 5 different sectional things at once, and it was absolutely wild. And the one-day camps are great, but they just don't give you the same experience of what drum corps is for. The being able to push yourself past barriers that you didn't know that you even had, to be able to see yourself in a different light, to experience working towards this common good with all these people that you just met. I mean, it's just genuinely, at the callback camp in January, was one of the most magical experiences. I think what we're trying to do as a staff is to be proactive and outwork our newness, our novice, with the members. We do have a few vets who are returning from 2020, but once again, none of them had ever done a 3-day camp.
Yeah.
And so the 2021 vets, while we love them dearly, I was actually talking to one of them, and he said, hey, I'll put together a camp list. And I said, well, you haven't done a camp before. And he said, no, I did one in 2020. And I was like, man, you were 16 in 2020 and you're now 21. Like, it's not going to help. You don't remember anything. And so we're just trying to be proactive with the experience of the members to ensure that we're being as detailed as possible. And I think that's one of the things that we're learning. I mean, just an anecdotal story about camp. We were trying to walk them through just the process of playing, just even getting their horns up. And, we put our hands up and we're like, oh crap, we haven't told them how to put their.
They don't know how to ripple. They don't know how they do it at Spirit.
No idea how this even works. I was like, okay, so we'll walk through that. And we said, okay, we're going to play just a concert F. And then after that, we're going to give you some time on your own. And so we got our horns up finally, and we played the concert F. I gave them time on their own. And I did the hand signal, and all of them were like, it's like, oh God, I forgot to even tell them what that means. And so I think it's just a lot of reminders for the staff. The good news, though, is that we have so many really intelligent and amazingly dedicated individuals who have come to audition for us. We really hit the gold mine with that. And so by the end of Saturday night, it was like a well-oiled machine. And, you know, Mike works with multiple other ensembles within the activity. And he came up to us after the camp and he said, you know, based off the vibe and the culture that you guys have already started to set, I see no difference between other ensembles I've seen this season and what you guys have been able to put together. So we're really excited about that. And just being in the room and being in the building is enough, you know. That's really what it is.
And getting off on the right foot, it sounds like y'all are really accomplishing that already. And it's, you know, January and you still haven't given out all your contracts yet. And you still have time to get even better, which is amazing. What sort of goals do you have personally for the corps? And what sort of goals has the brass team in particular set out to try to accomplish this season?
So I think for me, as a caption head, I have a few goals for the brass section. One of those is just the idea that we want to be one of the premier organizations for brass education. What I really love about our brass staff is that every single one of us are either band directors or private lesson instructors who are in the classroom every day. And so for us, genuinely, we are the perfect people to mold and to create and to grow our brass students into great brass musicians when they're leaving. You know, we want for them to be better than they are when they came to us. And one of the things that I ask continually throughout camp is, okay, raise your hand if you just learned something in that last session. And based off of that, that's how we'll gauge how great we're doing as a staff, to see if the members are learning and are being educated throughout the process. As an organization, you know, I was a part of the search for the new executive director for Spirit. And one of the things that we were really focusing on is that we want to be more of a community pillar to showcase diversity within the entire community of drum corps, to be more involved in Atlanta and more involved in our outer and greater community. You know, even last summer, we did a concert for the community where we invited 2 other local high school performers to come and perform on Symphony Hall stage. And Symphony Hall is our major, you know, Atlanta Symphony Orchestra stage. And we get 1 day a year in the summer to go and perform in Symphony Hall, and we invite the community in. And in the past, it's just been Spirit show. But we got a chance to invite other students who may not have never been able to perform on Symphony Hall stage, let alone walking in Symphony Hall for the first time. And the organization is really committed to that aspect, that pillar of community, ensuring that drum corps is accessible for everyone, creating scholarship programs and experiences for underrepresented people within the activity. I mean, I'm not going to get on my soapbox, I promise, but when I marched at Cavaliers, you know, there weren't many people who looked like me in the drum corps. And that's one of the things that, not only that, I marched at an all-male corps. So obviously there were no females at all within the drum corps. And so that aspect of the community, when we're searching and looking for great educators, that's one of the things that we at Spirit are really becoming committed to doing, is just ensuring that everyone is represented, everyone is showcased, and everyone is celebrated. And being really truthful and honest about the process and how we can create that as a community. So we're hoping to, you know, be a pillar to guide that conversation across the activity, because we know that that's something that is dire and is needed.
Yeah, wow. That's amazing. And I truly commend the Spirit of Atlanta organization as a whole for giving kids those opportunities to perform both inside and outside of the drum corps. I think working within the community is so important. You see a lot of corps trying to start those sorts of initiatives, and it's great that Spirit is leading the way, hopefully in one of those new ways to reach out to the community and to leave the community better than you found it, kind of like you're tying back to leave the musicians better than you found them
Sure. Yeah.
before they started. So we're talking about the organization, and last year we got a lot of information about internal changes that Spirit has been making, including strengthening Spirit's core pillars and implementing the Safe Spirit or the Spirit Safe program, rather. Just to name a few things that y'all are doing. Walk us through some of those key changes that the org has been making and what it's like for you personally to be part of this kind of rebirth of Spirit's internal organization.
So one thing that I can say that is really commendable of the organization is that when we, did not have a season and we found out in January that that wasn't going to be the case for the summer, the organization did not stop meeting and did not stop planning and creating and working from that moment. It was January of 2022 until the organization came back. It was an entire year, and it's continuing to be created and established and educated amongst all of us. One of the great things that the organization did is hired our new executive director, Jason Burns, who's coming to us from a corporate mindset, but was a drum corps member and is a drum corps fan. In fact, his own son is marching Spirit of Atlanta.
Amazing.
So he is a person who's like, I'm trusting the organization with my own flesh and blood as well. And this is a family experience, And they hired Shelba Waldron, who has been kind of our pillar for creating what it means to truly be spirit safe, and not just watching a few videos and then like checking off the boxes. It's been an experience where staff has been in multiple meetings, full staff meetings where all 97 people on staff were being educated on how to make sure that we are doing the mandated reporter experience and ensuring that we're looking for signs and talking through different ideas of abusive coaching versus tough coaching, because that's a mindset experience that is being retrained almost in the entire community. One of the things I would say is the most important is that education is kind of at the key pillar or the forefront of what we're doing. Education and communication. Those two things are so important because not only are they focusing on doing that with the staff, they also are having multiple sit-down meetings and online meetings with our members who are contracted and saying, if you see these things happening, these are the spaces that you go to. This is the way that you get help. This is the way that you point out the inconsistencies with the model that Spirit has promised you. I think that's one of the things that should be a model across the entire activity. It's just that openness and honest experience where it's not a gotcha. We're not trying to showcase that things are wrong and shut you down. It's more of a, hey, we need to be truthful about what we are. This is a youth educational activity. It's supposed to be about that. And so if we are doing things that are in the way of that, then we need to be called out. And I think that's one of the things that Jason has been so open and honest about is, hey, if there's ever anything that you feel is not appropriate or is not following that model of a youth educational program, then these are the places that you can call out the organization. And the entire staff knows that. There are 97 mandated reporters. There's a specific place and a person that we go to. And Shelba is the one who's guiding us in that. The thing about Shelba is that she came on with U.S. Gymnastics right as the scandal was going on with the Larry Nassar case, and she worked through that experience and built that entire process with USA Gymnastics. But she's kind of this unicorn because she also knows drum corps really well. And so wow. Exactly, it's like she marched drum corps and she was around drum corps, and then she's dealt with this exact same issue. And so of just making sure that there's a mandated reporter, making sure that there's a process. But that's not just with safety, it's also with overall health, being a pillar for health and making sure that we have athletic trainers, but also nurses and practitioners on the road. It's also going towards just the communication of sleep and making sure that members are being treated well on the road, because sleep is few and far between in drum corps, but drum corps is probably one of the worst places to get hurt on the road, because what your body needs is rest and time off. And drum corps doesn't offer you either of those things. And so us being proactive with the health program, giving information to our membership now about how to make sure that they can keep their bodies safe over the summer. Those are all things that we're trying to do to be kind of that pillar of spirit safe and what that means in that entire model.
And does all this learning start right when kids come to camp, or does it wait until they've been contracted? When does that education from the student perspective start?
No, they've been talking about it from the very beginning. Even at the one-day camps, Jason sat them down and said, these are our pillars. You know, and I've got them here. It's like safety, accountability, education, integrity, equality, excellence, and also respect. Like he says, like, these are our pillars. And if you feel something throughout the day isn't following those, you are welcome to come and tell us. And this is my number, and this is Chris's number. And it's just really a great place to be as a staff member. There's true honesty and also communication. You know, Spirit hasn't had an executive director who didn't have a job other than thinking of Spirit of Atlanta. So over the last 7 years, it's been everyone has a full-time job and then also Spirit. And so at times what that leads to is that, you know, some things are pushed aside or wait till later. But with Jason being his main job is Spirit of Atlanta, it changes the entire mindset. And I think honestly that every drum corps activity or every drum corps in the activity should try to go to a model like that, to where there's at least 1 or 2 people who are thinking only about the organization, because it's such a large job, you know, to do if not.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I'm sure that it makes your life easier knowing that you've always got someone on deck when something comes up and you need help, or if you need anything done. You know, having that one person always available is probably, you know, you can't put even words on how valuable that is.
Oh, for sure.
So you've been part of the organization for the past 8 years. That's a long time to be at a drum corps. Why do you personally keep wanting to come back? What makes Spirit so special to you?
Yeah, it's weird that I'm like the old guy.
Because you're so young.
I am 30 years old. I am not that old, but no, it's wild because, you know, I only marched Cavaliers for 1 year. And so Spirit, I've been here longer than I did at the corps where I actually marched. And when I got to Spirit, I think one of the things that kind of drew me in was first Freddie's model of the staff with when Andy was the caption head, was that, you know, we're all smarter than any one of us together, or separate, together than separate. And so when I was first year on staff in 2016 and they would look at me, it was like these giants in the activity who then looked at me and said, well, what do you think? And I was like, well, I don't know why you're asking me, but I think whatever you think. And then, you know, us getting great people on staff who've just come, and it's been the best professional development that I could ever have. And so going and doing drum corps is just absolutely something that draws you in and that makes you want to keep doing it every year. But doing it at Spirit is a little different because of how the model exists. You know, we have that saying, come home to Spirit. And what it means at its root, at its core, is that it's about the idea that when you are in the space, you're in the space forever. And you are deeply a part of the space forever, whether it's staff member or it's member who's marching. You are a part of the family forever, and the deltas that you wear on your neck can never be taken away from you. Spirit has always been a place that's treated you like a genuine person and human being, and as a true member of the family. And after you're done, you become the giants of the shoulders who we're standing on. You know, for me, those are the aspects of the corps that it's not just lip service, and every single person feels that when they go to the corps, when they are a part of it. You know, there have been some really frustrating parts in the last 8 years. No doubt about that. But the idea that it is a model that I believe in, you know, it gives me more hope to continue going back into pouring more into, because it's not just about marching well and playing well. You know, There are some places in the activity that is more of the idea, but at Spirit, it's about the whole person and about how that person is so important within the ensemble. And so because of that, I just love going back. And then I became caption head and was like, whoa, I now have more responsibility and power to be able to create and to build this culture. And culture to me is the most important thing of a drum corps. And it's got to have an equal part of rigor, but also relationships. And I think that the relationship aspect really is what keeps our vets coming back every year. And the rigor aspect is what makes this such a fun experience to be a part of.
Dang. Well, that just tugs at my heartstrings a little bit because, I feel like, in my opinion, that's why you want to do drum corps, is to be part of something that's bigger than yourself and to hopefully make impactful changes and to, change yourself along the way. It's so important to maintain those big picture perspectives when you're, in Texas and it's 110 degrees and you just want to die because you're so tired.
My stories of Texas.
Everyone's got them.
And Louisiana.
Oh, Swamp Tour, yes.
Yeah.
Long live Swamp Tour.
Right.
But so kind of going off of a lot of what you just said, one thing that I personally missed seeing last season in 2022 was Spirit and Crossmen and their sister corps connection. I used to work for Crossmen a couple of years back, and one thing that I always looked forward to every season was going to Allentown and hearing the two corps play back to back and, exchange their deltas and their crosses.
Right.
Is that relationship something that you're hoping to have this season too? Are you hoping to bring it back?
Oh, for sure. I mean, that's something that way goes past and extends past even my time in the Corps. So it's, and we also, within our history night, we tell that story.
Amazing.
Within Spirit of Atlanta, we also have the Crossmen Spirit Award, which means it's the person of the Corps who goes above and beyond to showcase and go out of their way to showcase compassion. And so that's always going to be deeply rooted within the tradition of the drum corps. But we already have plans, obviously, to do the brass night at Allentown and go back and forth, and that's going to be so much fun to bring that back. But also we have plans to do it throughout the season with encores and things like that. So more to come on it, but we're really excited to bring that back. But it's always been there because it's going to be forever. And even the relationship is so deep that when one corps makes finals or not, we will do the insignia of the other corps on the field. So that's one of the things that is, we knew that we were still a part of the activity because our sister corps was there last summer. So
amazing. Well, I look forward to seeing more work that y'all are putting together between the two corps. That's really exciting that you're trying to expand that reach and hopefully give more folks an opportunity to learn more about the sister corps bond and to hear both of the corps play together. It's a really fun experience that I hope that a lot of people have a lot of opportunities to see this upcoming season. Yeah. So kind of talking about that, winding it down, we're getting close to show announcement time, and we've already seen a couple of corps announce their shows already. Are there any sort of hints or information that you can leave us with in preparation for the Spirit's show this season?
Well, so I do love my job, so I can't tell you much. No, what I can tell you is this. With having a season off, we knew that we had to come back out with a show that would be a crowd pleaser and with a show that is going to be something that will get people on their feet by the end of the show. So it's definitely going to be that. And, Spirit of Atlanta has always been a drum corps. It's no secret that we've always been one that can have both an emotional experience with our show, but also something that is intriguing and exciting and kind of new in the way of do it, with also being very traditional to ourselves. We are one of the only, only core in Georgia for sure. And Atlanta is such an interesting and intriguing place to be with all different types of music and all different types of people. And so that's going to be showcased throughout the show, just like the newness of what drum corps can be and is, and just a lot of cool music and a lot of just interesting features of the show. So there's no theme that I can tell you. There's not really a color structure, but I can tell you that it's going to be a crowd pleaser, and it's going to be something that will be remembered when we're done with the show.
Well, I love to hear it because I think, one of the jokes of the 2021 season was that Phantom Regiment won that season, even though it was not scored, because they really went back to their roots and did the crowd-pleasing things that everyone loves to see from the corps. And based on what you just said, it sounds like that's kind of the vibe that Spirit's going for this season. So I, for one, am super excited to see what you guys put on the field.
Yeah.
Incredibly excited to hear the music that you're playing and to see what sort of waves y'all make after being gone for last season, because I'm ready to have Spirit back. I love the corps, and I am so excited. When is your first show? Do you know off the top of your head?
I do. Our first show is going to be the Crown Beat show in Lexington, by 6th or 8th. It's around that time. But that's going to be our first show, which is just really appropriate because that was our first show in 2016 when I first started as well. So I'll be walking up that hill with everyone else.
Amazing. Well, Daniel, thank you so much for chatting with me today. Like I said, I'm incredibly excited to see what Spirit does this season, and I'm excited to see y'all on the road come July.
Natalie, thank you so much. This has been so fun talking about the corps that I love, but also just hanging out with you a little bit more. So,
well, thank you for spending your Friday evening with me.
No better person to do it with. Right?